Okay, folks, we are back again, and I have dug deep into this director's catalog here on the channel. I think he's one of those directors that you're supposed to love all of his movies because they're iconic, and so far, only one of his films has really hit home with me. Today, we are reviewing 1965's Major Dundee. This is the 2005 re-release version, directed by Sam Peckinpah. I don't know who did all the added cuts and who supervised that. I didn't really dig deep into that. Peckinpah is obviously long gone by the time this film came out. This is not the full picture version, but it's close as we could get to what Peckinpah had in mind. And there's another film that's on the docket that I will review that's considered one of his movies, the only one that he felt really fit what he wanted. This is considered a movie of troubled production. If you don't know, Peckinpah was a raging alcoholic and was drunk for a lot of the times on the production set of this film. It was filmed in Mexico. So this particular version is like a third or fourth version. This is a 136-minute film. This is not the theatrical version. And this extended version that was released on 2005, it added from original theatrical release was about 122 minutes. This added a bunch of footage that to try and get as close as they could to the Peckinpah version of the film. So this particular version is 136 minutes long. Although there was an original cut of the film that was 278 minutes long. Apparently, Peckinpah's cut was 156 minutes long, and then the theatrical cut that was released in theaters was butchered down to 122 minutes and kind of made the film more fractured. And even at 136 minutes, I felt like this movie is a cult classic, kind of like The Wild Bunch. It's considered like a top 10 for a lot of people. Also directed by Peckinpah, and I've reviewed it here on the channel. But it was okay as a movie. It did have two versions of the soundtrack on this. The original mono soundtrack, which was done by a guy named Daniel Amphitroff or something like that. And then there is a stereo version where they created the soundtrack for the scenes that were added back in by Christopher Caliendo, and I thought that version was amazing. So the soundtrack, 5 out of 5. The cinematography and overall scenery of this film throughout Mexico, 5 out of 5. It's a period film taking place around 1865, and it's kind of like a narrative book with a narrative done from a soldier's journal that was witnessing everything as it's going on. Charlton Heston's in there. Richard Harris plays an Irishman fighting for the Confederate Army, although he sounds like an Englishman to me. Charlton Heston and Richard Harris did not get along, almost came to blows during the production. Richard Harris would also go on to bouts of drinking. The film stopped and then it would start. There would be gaps during the production. It was a mess. So for what it is, I think it's cool. It's a period film. I could see how this movie does not hold up to a very sensitive modern audience because they're going after the violent Apache tribe that was pillaging and plundering U.S. Army bases and kidnapping the children and killing everybody else. And they're going after for bloodlust and revenge to lay waste. And basically, Charlton Heston is a major of this fort during the Civil War that's housing Confederate prisoners as well as other unsavory types. And they vow that they will give them early release and pardons if they go help track down the Apache Indians and slaughter all of them. So that's the premise of the movie. You could say that this movie is a racist caricature of Native Americans, but again, it's a movie, folks. I like the period feel. It has a very rough kind of spaghetti western style feel. There is hard performances, hard situations, very violent for 1965. But it is a really good movie. it is quite long. I couldn't imagine watching a 278 version of this film. Sadly, we won't see the 156 version or the 278-minute version. Had a $4.5 million box office budget, and I had to watch this in segments because it was quite long, and it did drag on at parts, but I loved parts of it. Again, this movie, and when we look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, it does not hold up for a modern audience because this movie has a 97% critic average on Rotten Tomato, but only a 67% audience score with only 2,500 people reporting in. IMDb 6.7 out of 10. And I think that I am going to be in the middle. I'm going to give myself, I was leaning towards 3 out of 5. But there was parts of it that I really loved, and then a lot of times, just because of, again, this was a very cutting room floor type of movie, and it kind of didn't make sense at some times. I'm gonna go 3.5 out of 5. It's okay, but it's not my favorite Peckinpah film that I've seen. That would go, if you watch back through my archives, you'll have to find out. But some of his other movies that are supposed to be must watches, they were okay for me. The movie that resonated with me the most, what the heck, I'll just say it here, was The Ballad of Cable Hogue. That's my favorite Peckinpah film that I've seen to date. And this would be, right, The High Country, Ballad of Cable Hogue, Wild Bunch, and then Killer Elite. This will be my 5th reviewed Peckinpah film, and we're going to be reviewing Convoy coming up. So that's one of the later films. And I got to get me a copy of Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, but it is quite expensive used. I don't really want to pay $20 for a used copy, so I don't know what I'm going to do. Because of the library did not have that to rent, and I don't like spending $20 for a DVD when I'm used to going to the thrift shop and picking them up for $1. So more to come. Bear with me. I've got so much media that I want to review. I would say watch it if you're into Westerns, if you're into the Civil War era, if you're into American Frontier, and Charlton Heston is an amazing actor. And I even really like the Richard Harris dynamic as kind of the co-star and commiserator. One is a Union soldier, one is a Confederate soldier. They're kind of facing off for leadership positions. Interesting film. Complicated romance situations. I won't get into it. But yeah. Oh, huge shout out to Slim Pickens, who also makes a small appearance in this movie. R.I.P. Slim Pickens, who lived right nearby in Calaveras County, I might add, in Jamestown. And who else was in it? Oh yeah, James Coburn, he's in it. So there's a lot of who's of 1960s Hollywood people in this film. Oh, filmed in Panavision. So it's got a very wide frame, Technicolor. The way they captured light, it just has a film of the time. I'm sure my dad probably was dropped off at a movie theater at 6 years old as a latchkey kid and saw this movie that is not necessarily kid-friendly for the time. Very tame by today's standards, but the violence back then was probably shocking. Until next time, we'll see you then. Thanks for watching.